Welcome to Cardio. So in this episode of our LeetCode series, we are going to solve the question called FizzBuzz. So here we have our 412th LeetCode question, which is FizzBuzz. So given an integer n, return a string array answer which is based on 1-based indexing. So our input is an integer called n and our output is a string array called answer. And they are specifically given that this array is following the 1-based indexing rather than our usual 0-based indexing. So with this information, what can we infer from? So creating a string array would be a very easy job, and that would be our resultant answer. And we have to follow these conditions that are given below, answer of I equal to FizzBuzz and all those 4 conditions that are given below, and convert this given integer n into that string array based on these 4 conditions. So what are those conditions and how are we going to do that? So answer of I is equal to FizzBuzz if I is divisible by 3 and 5. So what do we mean by this? So we have to iterate right from 1 all the way until n. So there are totally n numbers from 1 until n. For each of these numbers, we are going to check whether the given number is divisible by 3 and divisible by 5. If it is divisible by both of them, then we add the value FizzBuzz into the answer array, that is the string array. But in case if it is divisible just by 3 but not by 5, okay, in that case we should add the word fizz to the answer array. In case if it is divisible by 5 and not by 3, in that case we should add buzz. And finally we should add the number itself, that is the number I itself, to the array if it is neither divisible by 3 nor by 5. So those are the 4 conditions that are given to us here. So using these conditions, we have to develop an algorithm which converts this integer n into this array of strings. So that is going to be our question for today. Now let's move on to an example and try to understand the question and the logic behind this. So here we have an example number. Let us take a small number, let's say 3. So with this, we will have the number starting from 1 all the way until 3, because we know it follows the 1-based indexing, right? So we have these numbers 1 to 3. Now what do? We need 2 major variables here. What are those variables, or what are those values? The values are whether the given number is divisible by 3 and whether the given number is divisible by 5. So we are going to store these 2 information about each of these numbers in a variable called divisible by 3 and divisible by 5. In this representation here, if the given box here is in green color, it means it is divisible by 3, that is, it is true. And here it is divisible by 5 is false, hence it means it is not divisible by 5. So red and green represents true and false respectively, and hence making these variables as Boolean data type variables. Okay, I hope these prerequisites are clear to you. So we have a number n, so we are iterating from 1 to n, and we have 2 variables, 2 Boolean variables to be specific, one divisible by 3 and the other divisible by 5. So first let us start with the first number, which is 1. So we are going to check whether 1 modulo 3 or 1 is divisible by 3. So if 1 modulo 3 is equal to 0, then we can say that the value is divisible by 3. But here 1 modulo 3 gives us a remainder of 1, which is not equal to 0. Hence divisible by 3 is false. We are changing the green color to red. And we are going to check now for 1 modulo 5. And we know for certain that 1 modulo 5 is also 1 and it is not equal to 0. Hence divisible by 5 is also false. We are moving on to the next number, which is 2. So since we didn't have any number which is divisible by 3 or 5, that is, the number 1 that was given to us was not divisible by 3 as well as by 5, and hence we reach the 4th condition that was given to us in the earlier case. We add that value I itself to the array. So there is no change, 1 remains as 1 itself in the answer array. Moving on to the next number. Similarly, 2 is not divisible by 3 nor by 5 because both of these reminders are not 0. In that case, we will add the number itself, or there will be no change in the array. We'll just add this number to itself to the answer array. So there is no change. Moving on to the last one. 3 modulo 3 is 0 and hence divisible by 3 is true. But 3 modulo 5 is not 0 and hence divisible by 5 is false. In that case, what should we do? We should apply the second condition, which is the number is divisible by 3 but not by 5. In that case, we should change this value 3 by Fizz. That is the string that we are going to replace this 3 with. So this will become the list. So the answer to this question will become 1, 2, Fizz. Because all the iterations are over, 1, 2, Fizz will become our answer. So that was a pretty easy case, but we didn't check all the other cases, right? So let's take a bigger number in order to check all the cases. And at last we have to return the list. That's pretty obvious. So n is equal to 15. That is the case that we are going to take next. So in this case, we have this 1 to 15 array as usual, and the two variables that we saw, divisible by 3 and divisible by 5. In this case, we are going to check the same thing again and again. We are going to check one, whether it's divisible by 3 and whether it's divisible by 5. If it is divisible by both, then we change it as FizzBuzz. If it is just by 3, then it is Fizz. Just by 5, then it is Buzz. If it is not divisible by any of it, then we keep it the number itself. So here, as we know, so as we saw in the earlier example, we know for certain that 1, 2 are not divisible by 3 and 5. In that case, we can just skip to that part. So 1 is just kept as 1 itself, 2 is just kept as 2 itself. When coming to 3, 3 will be changed to Fizz because 3 is divisible by 3 but not by 5. So it is changed to Fizz. Moving on, we'll have 4. When coming to 4, 4 is neither divisible by 3 nor by 5 and hence it will be just 4 itself. So we'll just add 4 to the answer array. Moving on to 5. Okay. So when it comes to 5, as we know, 5 is divisible by 5 but not by 3. Right. In that case, we should come to the third case or third condition, which is the buzzword. So if it is divisible by 5 but not by 3, we change the value to Buzz. Similarly, following this pattern, we just do it for all the other numbers. 6 is divisible by 3 and not by 5. So essentially, the simple trick is, if it is a multiple of 3, then change the value to Fizz, which means 3, 6, 9, 12, all these values will get changed to Fizz. If it is a multiple of 5, change it to Buzz. All the values like 5, 10 will get changed to Buzz. But the explanation or the interesting thing happens only in the last iteration. So let us skip to that. Okay. So here, as you can see, we have come to the last iteration, which is the value 15. 15 is divisible by 3. Yeah, it is of course divisible by 3 and also by 5. In that case, we reach the first condition. That is, the number should be replaced by FizzBuzz. So this would be our given answer. So all the other numbers like 1, 2, 4, 7, 8, 11, 13, 14 are neither divisible by 3 nor by 5. Hence, they remain as it is. The numbers which are divisible by 3 gets changed to Fizz, and numbers which are divisible by 5 gets changed to Buzz. And the only number here that is divisible by both gets changed to FizzBuzz. So this is our resultant list, and we would have to return this list as our answer. So I hope you understood the gist of this question. Now let us move on to the algorithm or pseudocode in order to solve this question. So the first important thing would be to create the array itself or the list itself. So we need a list of strings as the output, and hence we are going to create that. That's going to be our first step. So the next step is going to be to loop from 1 all the way until n. So we are going to loop from 1 to n and then check all these 4 conditions repeatedly for each and every number. Okay, so that is going to be a second step. So the third step is to check for whether I is divisible by both. If it is divisible by both, add the value FizzBuzz to the list. Okay, so that is the list that we created. And in the next else if class, we have if the given number I is divisible by 3 but not by 5. Okay, so that comes under the fourth else if step, and in that case we would add Fizz to the list. And similarly, if it is divisible by 5 but not by 3, we would add the word buzz to the list. If it is not divisible by both 3 and 5, we'll come to the else clause. In that case, we'll add the number I itself to the list. But as we know, the array is a string array, and hence we have to convert this integer into a string. That is why we have the quotes here, and then add it to the list, and at last, after the end of the loop, return the list. So these are the basic steps in order to convert this given integer n into this string array. But there is a very important point to note here. This if and else if cannot be interchanged. That is, this first condition cannot be if I divisible by 3, and the second condition to be if I is divisible by both, because the first condition will get satisfied. For example, in the case of 15, if I is divisible by 3, 15 is divisible by 3, yes, true, but in that case we should not add the value fizz to the list, we should add the value FizzBuzz to the list. Instead of checking for 5, we would directly add the word fizz to the list and move on to the next number, and that is why the order of this if else clause matters. So just follow the order that is given in the question, we will not face any problems with it. So this is the basic layout of the algorithm that we have. I hope you understood this logic. Now let's move on to LeetCode and code this logic. So here we are in LeetCode, and now we have this function called FizzBuzz. It takes the value n as input and returns the list of strings as output. So let us take the algorithm that we developed and execute it step by step. So our first step was to create the list itself. So let us start with that. So list, and the data type of all the elements that is going to be a string. So list of strings, and let's name it answer itself. That is the variable name that is given to us by the question. Now let's create a new array list in this type. New array list of. So with this we have completed the first step, and the second step is to iterate from 1 all the way until n, right? So let us start with that. So for int I is equal to 1, I is less than n, and I plus plus. This is where we have to note a point. We have to reach 1 until n. N is also included here. So either you can do n plus 1 here, or you can do less than or equal to n. I personally prefer n plus 1 because that is more efficient computationally, and hence n plus 1 is better this way. So both of these loops starts from 1 and all the way it goes until n. Okay. So with that, let us move on to those variables that we had, which are divisible by 3 and divisible by 5. Both of these were boolean variables, right? So let us create those variables here. So boolean divisible by 3 is equal to, we are going to check whether the given number I modulo 3 is equal to 0. So this is going to return a boolean value, true or false to us, and that is going to get stored in the value divisible by 3. And similarly, we will just copy this value and paste it here. So this, when changed to 5, will give us the result for divisible by 5. So we have those variables now. Now the next and the final part would be to implement all those conditions that we had. So our first condition was whether it is divisible by both. So divisible by 3 and at the same time divisible by 5. So if it is divisible by both, in that case answer dot add of, we should add the word FizzBuzz to the list. So FizzBuzz to the list. Next, else if it is just divisible by 3, in that case we should add the word fizz to the list. So FIZZ. And similarly, the next else would be to check whether it is just divisible by 5. So divisible by 5. In that case, we should add the word buzz to the list. BUZZ. And finally, if it is not divisible by neither 5 nor by 3, in that case we should add the number itself to the list, that is I itself to the list. But here comes the catch. We know that I here is an integer, but answer here is a list of strings. So we must convert this integer into a string. So for that we have several methods. One such method is to use string dot to string of. So this is one such method. You can also use string dot value of. So both of these methods, it's going to do the same thing. It is going to get that integer and convert it into a string. So you can use either one of these methods in order to convert this integer I into a string. So, and that will get added into the answer. So with that, we shall come to the end of this for loop and return the lists. That completes the program. Now let's run this code for all the sample test cases and verify whether it works for the basic test cases that we have. Okay, it works for all the basic test cases. Let us submit this code and verify whether it works for all the other test cases that are given in LeetCode. If that works, our submission will be done, and yeah, we have successfully completed this code. So congratulations on completing this question in LeetCode. So if you love this video, please drop a like and comment down below if you have any queries, and don't forget to subscribe to Code. We'll see you in the next episode of LeetCode. Until then, bye bye.